Scientists discovered that the same brain chemical that makes you addicted to scrolling TikTok, YouTube, Netflix, and checking Instagram can be rewired in the under 21 days to make you genuinely addicted to studying. By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly how dopamine works in your brain, why traditional studying feels like torture, and how to use a simple 4-step method to flip your brain's reward system so that opening your textbook starts to feel as satisfying as opening your phone. No hacks, no gimmicks, just neuroscience applied. Here's why this matters right now. We are living through the most distracted period in human history. The average college student checks their phone 150 times a day. Young professionals spend nearly 2.5 hours daily on social media, and that's the conservative estimate. And here's the brutal part. It's not your fault. You weren't born distracted, you were engineered to be. Billion-dollar companies have spent decades studying your brain, hiring neuroscientists, running A/B tests, all to make sure their apps are more rewarding than anything else you could possibly do, including studying. So the question isn't, why can't I focus? The real question is, can you compete with a billion-dollar algorithm using your own brain? Yes, and this video will show you exactly how. So let me give you the central idea of this entire video, and I want you to really sit with this because it's going to change how you see studying forever. Your brain was built to learn, not just capable of learning, built for it, wired for it, hungry for it. Your brain releases dopamine, the pleasure chemical, every single time you understand something new, solve a problem, or make progress on a challenge. Every single time. The issue isn't that studying is boring. The issue is that social media delivers dopamine in micro hits, fast, constant, effortless. And studying, by design, delays the reward. The dopamine comes, but it comes later. Your brain, optimized for survival, always chooses the faster reward. So the trick isn't to force yourself to study. The trick is to restructure when and how the dopamine hits. So your brain starts associating the act of studying with the feeling of reward. That's the entire game. And once you understand it at this level, everything changes. Let's get into the neuroscience, and because once you understand this, you can't unlearn it. Most people think dopamine is the pleasure chemical. That's not quite right. Dr. Andrew Huberman at Stanford has spent years studying this, and what his research shows is that dopamine is actually the anticipation chemical. It's not released when you get the reward, it's released when you expect it's coming. This is huge. Read that again. Dopamine spikes before the reward, which means your brain is constantly scanning the environment, asking one question. Is something good about to happen? When you pick up your phone, your brain already knows from experience that something stimulating is coming. Dopamine floods in before you even unlock the screen. When you open a textbook, your brain asks the same question, and based on past experience, it answers, probably not. This is going to be hard, slow, and uncomfortable. Dopamine stays flat. Motivation disappears. Here's the second piece. Dopamine operates on a baseline. A study published in the journal Nature Neuroscience found that every time you get a dopamine spike from a low-effort activity, scrolling, snacking, binging, your baseline drops slightly, meaning the next activity has to deliver more stimulation just to feel normal. This is why after an hour of Instagram, studying feels not just boring, it feels physically painful. Your baseline has been jacked up so high that the slow burn of learning can't compete. The average student tries to study after 2 hours of high stimulation activity and wonders why nothing sticks. The 1% protect their baseline like it's currency, because it is. So here's the principle. Lower stimulation before studying. Protect your baseline, then let the natural dopamine of learning do its job. Practically, this means no phone for 30 minutes before a study session. No YouTube, no music with lyrics, no social media. Let your baseline drop. Let boredom arrive. Because boredom isn't the enemy of focus, it's the doorway to it. A 2014 study at the University of Central Lancashire found that participants who experienced boredom before a task performed significantly better on creative and focus-based tasks than those who were pre-stimulated. Your brain gets bored and then it hungers. Feed it learning and watch what happens. Now let's talk about the other side, how to generate dopamine inside the study session itself, not after. During, because this is where most students miss it entirely. They treat studying as a transaction. I suffer now, I get the grade later. That delay, weeks or months, is neurologically too long. Your brain cannot connect that distant reward to the present action. The wiring doesn't work that way. High performers, the students who genuinely love learning, have consciously or unconsciously built what I call micro-reward architecture inside their sessions. Here's what that looks like. First, the progress principle. Teresa Amabile, a researcher at Harvard Business School, studied hundreds of knowledge workers over years. Her conclusion? The single biggest driver of motivation and positive emotion at work isn't salary, recognition, or even purpose. It's progress. Specifically, the feeling of making progress on meaningful work, even in small steps. Your brain releases dopamine for progress, not just completion, which means you don't need to finish the chapter to feel rewarded. You need to visibly move forward. This is why crossing something off a to-do list feels so satisfying. The checkmark is a dopamine trigger. It's a progress signal, so here's the application. Break your study material into the smallest possible meaningful units, not study chapter 4. Instead, understand what osmosis means, then understand why osmosis matters in cells, then be able to explain it in one sentence without notes. 3 micro goals, 3 dopamine hits in 20 minutes. Second, the generation effect. Neuroscience calls this the generation effect, and it's one of the most powerful and underused tools in learning. A landmark study at the University of Toronto found that information you generate yourself by recalling, explaining, or teaching is retained up to 50% better than information you passively read or highlight. When you retrieve something from memory, even if you struggle, your brain interprets the struggle as meaningful, and it rewards that struggle with dopamine. This is why Arjun's accidental technique worked. He didn't reread the thermodynamics chapter, he tried to explain it, and his brain lit up. Practically, after every concept you study, close the book and say it out loud. Explain it to an imaginary friend. Draw it on a blank page. Teach it to your wall. It feels uncomfortable. It's supposed to. That discomfort is your brain working. And right behind the discomfort, dopamine is waiting. Third, novelty cycling. Dr. Huberman's research also shows that novelty, encountering something unexpected or surprising, triggers a dopamine spike independent of reward. Your brain loves newness. It's evolutionary. New information could mean new food sources, new dangers, new opportunities. So, if you've been studying the same subject in the same way for 45 minutes, your brain has stopped registering novelty. Dopamine flatlines. Switch subjects. Switch formats. Go from reading to drawing a diagram to writing bullet points to speaking out loud. The format shift itself registers as novelty. Dopamine ticks up. Focus returns. The average student grinds one topic for 3 hours and burns out. The top 1% cycle subjects and formats every 25 to 45 minutes and stay sharp. Now, I need to be honest with you about something, because I think you deserve the uncomfortable version of this truth. Everything I've told you so far works. The neuroscience is solid. The techniques are proven. But here's what's also true. Every day you don't implement this, your brain is being trained in the opposite direction. Every hour of passive scrolling is a rep. Your brain is getting stronger at craving low-effort stimulation. Your dopamine baseline is recalibrating downward. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is not staying the same. It's growing, and here's the part that nobody says out loud. The longer you wait, the harder it gets. Not because you're getting lazier, but because your neural pathways are getting more established. The grooves in your brain run deeper. The default feels more default. You're not running out of time, but you are running out of easy. This is what everything has been building toward. I call it the dose loop method, and your brain was built to learn through exactly this kind of structure. DOSE stands for desire, output, surge, embed, 4 pillars, used in sequence. Every study session. D, desire, prime the reward. Before you open a single book, spend 2 minutes writing down why this session matters. Not vague goals, specific ones. If I understand this concept today, I can tackle the assignment tomorrow and free up my weekend. Your brain needs a reason to release anticipatory dopamine. Give it one. O, output. Generate before you consume. Before you read a new section, spend 3 minutes writing down everything you already know about the topic, even if it's almost nothing. The act of generation primes your brain for receptivity. You're not reviewing. You're activating the neural network that new information will attach to. Cold brains retain less. Warm brains retain more. S, surge. Create micro wins. Every 20 minutes, break your session into 20-minute blocks. At the end of each block, do one thing. Close the material and explain the core idea in 2 sentences without looking. If you can do it, physically mark it done. That check mark is a dopamine surge. Your brain gets rewarded. It wants to do it again. Repeat. E, embed, close with retrieval. At the end of every session and before you do anything else, spend 5 minutes doing a brain dump. Write everything you remember from the session on a blank page. No notes. No peeking. This act of retrieval consolidates the memory and sends one final dopamine signal. We made real progress today. 4 steps, 1 session, repeated consistently. And within 3 weeks, your brain stops experiencing studying as a threat. It starts experiencing it as a source of reward. Here's what to do this week. Rapid fire. Start today. Today, no phone for 30 minutes before your next study session. Put it in another room. Let your baseline reset. Pick one concept from your current material and explain it out loud to yourself for 60 seconds. Right now, don't wait. This week, use the dose loop for every study session. Desire, output, surge, embed. Write it on a sticky note and put it on your desk. At the end of each session, do a 5-minute brain dump on a blank page. No notes, no peeking. After 3 sessions, notice how your resistance to starting has shifted. It will. Here's the truth I want to leave you with. The most dangerous lie in education is that some people are just naturally good at studying and others aren't. That's not biology, that's circumstance. Every high performer you admire, every person who seems to love learning, who reads obsessively, who goes deep where others go shallow, they didn't start that way. They found their reward loop. They learned to work with their brain, and now you know how. Your brain was built to learn. The only thing that was missing was knowing how to let it. If this video gave you even one idea that changes how you study, drop a comment below telling me which part hit hardest. Subscribe.